I still don't have a great answer to the question that Zaz asked me about where is Stugotz.
Where are you at?
I do have a picture. There's a picture. His daughter, Rachel, ended up winning a giant championship in Northwestern lacrosse. Right?
Yeah, Big Ten champs.
Wow.
Big Ten champs.
Wiener power.
What happened? So we've got Izzy Gutierrez in here. We've got Zaslow as well. This is because South Florida sports matters, so we've got some local broadcasting legends in with us. Before we go any further, though, I do want to just stop for a second because I can't believe I shouldn't be surprised by it anymore, but I can't believe how dedicated this audience is. So as part of the writers' strike that is about to cripple Hollywood, I think the MTV Music Awards last night, I don't know if those are still a thing, but they had to be pre-taped because there are no writers available and some live television is going to disappear and you're going to see some content fall apart here. Alex O'Keefe was on with us and told us about writing for The Bear, a very popular award-winning show, and how he was broke because the writing fees stink in the creative community as corporations take over, lay people off right and left, and your consumption of stuff is about to get really diluted because the discoveries of the world are here to dilute things and bury this writers union, this audience, which appreciates creative stuff. When he gave out his Venmo, I just got the news that he's over $30,000. The audience gave him more than $30,000. So let's just play his thank you here for the audience that did not see it because he wasn't familiar with our show and or our audience and was, I was surprised by it, and I've seen the audience do this a bunch of different times. But here he is thanking you when it was still $20,000 instead of $30,000.
Hey, this is Alex O'Keefe, staff writer of The Bear. I just wanted to thank the entire pirate ship. I am so moved and confused. When I rolled out of bed to do that interview, I did not expect it would get me $20,000. You have so generously, in solidarity, donated over $20,000 to me to be able to pay my rent, pay my bills through the strike. Who knows how long it goes, and that gives me strength to fight this out with the truth as long as it takes. When I showed this to my fiance, they thought it was a glitch. They didn't understand what I was saying. I said, I was on a sports talk show and they gave me $20,000. And they're like, what? And they started crying because we have really experienced a lot of stress and depression like so many people across this country, hurting through the inflation, through this economy. Since the pandemic, we're hurting just like you. We're in the working class just like you, and I will never forget this kindness and solidarity, for real.
Okay, can I ask you something? It's obviously awesome what, this audience has done for him.
Awesome.
It's awesome. But does he feel awkward now? Because all these writers are struggling. I heard his story, great show. In case anyone was wondering if I thought it was a good show.
Good show, not a good show.
But does he feel weird?
Good show.
Does he feel weird that the other writer, they don't have this $30,000 to fall? He's gonna fight the fight now, and he can do that now because he's got a little bit of a cushion. Well, that didn't change for anyone else who's on his show. So does he feel weird about that? I wonder.
I will say this for Alex: Feds is always watching. They're really in on Venmo right now. Let's not be putting on how much is out there. Make sure that everything's under wraps.
I will say, I've been here for a little longer than one segment, and my Venmo is easy to find. So, just anybody wants to contribute
Now we can't
for any given reason.
Now wait a minute, you can't. You're gonna have to leave again. That's 2 minutes. I'm sorry, Izzy. I'm sorry. I want to get your thoughts on a bunch of different things, but you can't come out here. Do you know how bad it is to be worse than both Zaz, who immediately creates division in the writers union by saying this selfish guy O'Keefe is keeping all the money to himself.
He's not selfish.
And Tony, who's saying you got to be careful with those funds, O'Keefe. The government is coming after you. You might want to take the Venmo out $500 at a time instead of $600.
That's just facts.
To you being worse than both of them, Izzy? Worse than both of them.
By asking for contributions from the public, they don't know what I'm striking or what I'm going through. I mean, Does everybody else? Listen,
The
I gotta
Stugotz
get out of
is
here.
strong.
Please
man.
do not
The
talk about
Stugotz
naked
is-
You tossed him
celebrities
already, Dan.
while
You
I'm
gotta
gone.
go.
Please.
You have to go for a
Send him
couple
a
of
memo
minutes.
so he can buy a new shirt.
You don't think there's a
what's
part
wrong
of him
with the
that's
shirt?
that's wondering like, wow, like I like why am I so lucky? Why am I so fortunate?
He's going
'Cause I'm on
back to
Dan's
that.
show.
You want him to come with me?
Alex
Yes,
did
go
want
with
everyone to know that, quote, I'm good, and suggested that anyone who wants to support the writer strike could support the Entertainment Community Fund, which goes to people who work across all the unions. You can go to entertainmentcommunity.org.
That is very nice of Alex. Dismiss. I'm going to keep giving you money, pal.
Entertainmentcommunity.org if you want to help all the writers.
How about you give it to that other place? I'm
I
gonna
do
keep sending
think
it to you.
30 grand,
Look,
put it over.
O'Keefe, look. The audience was good to you. I think you should make a
Yeah,
donation.
you do that.
to the entertainmentcommunity.org.
You do that. You gave your Venmo out. I know where to send my money. Send it there.
Tax
You-
write-off.
We're not
there,
going to
too.
do it again because look, now every Johnny come lately over here, Izzy come lately, just comes to the audience and starts panhandling. Like what is that? He's got no cause, nothing. He comes in here in white pants and that ridiculous shirt, and
Pants are
he
very
just asked the audience for money.
Yeah, it was weird.
What is it? The seat?
I can't believe that Stugotz hasn't gotten wise to that hustle. Because the audience would far surpass what they gave Alex.
He has. It's called Cameo.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
No, but he never
has to
does
actually
it.
do work.
He has to do work, and it's the amazing
He
thing.
also has to do work for Venmo, too, because there's no way he knows how to Venmo.
Speaking of easy money, I couldn't believe this over the weekend. Andrew Marchand is saying there's a better than 50% chance, a 51% chance, that Tom Brady walks from the 10-year, $375 million deal. that it becomes too
Capitulate.
much work.
Yeah, because
that it
he's
becomes,
walking all the way to San Francisco. There it is. He's not. Yeah, he's going to play again. Good take. He's going to play again. You think he's retired?
San Francisco could use a quarterback, right?
I mean, you want to go with Mr. Irrelevant as your future Brock Purdy? You want to trust that? Okay. Come on. You know he's going to retire, right? Come on.
Is that a known thing? Is that something that I don't know that people are jumping to that conclusion, although it probably is pretty
Starting
reasonable.
to get that itch right now, I bet.
How can it possibly be more than
Saw
50%?
OTAs. He saw Aaron Rodgers.
Well, this is
smiling.
what Tony's been saying about Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, gentlemen, I'm sorry to tell everybody, Jets are going to the playoffs in a big way. Aaron Rodgers in the all-black and Jets looks incredible.
Jeremy, why are you looking at him
I
like
should have
that?
kept Mike White.
I just love that all it is the guy puts on a black T-shirt
Oh
or
my
a
God.
black long sleeve, and it's like,
Oh
all
my
right,
God.
now he's ready to come
Guys,
back.
he's back. He's back. He's throwing passes in slow-mo, and then Zach Wilson is behind him in one of those like sports brawls that keep.
He's not throwing passes in slow-mo.
He's throwing
They're
passes in
showing
slow-mo.
you the passes in
I get
slow-mo.
that. My point is, the video's in slow-mo. Zach Wilson standing behind him in one of those like soccer player sports brawl things that tracks like the monitors of like your heart and everything. And guess who doesn't have one? Aaron Rodgers. Guess why? Because he's no QB1.
No.
Because he does whatever he wants.
No,
because
it's
he's
because
throwing
he
the ball to
believes in
Randall
modern
Cobb,
medicine.
which got there 2 minutes ago.
That's not why he's wearing it. He's wearing it because his rocks aren't aligned or something like that. Because Venus isn't behind Uranus.
I saw the other day on ESPN there was a breaking news scroll, and the people in the other room, in the director's room, were yelling after, I don't know, 3 minutes. What's the breaking news? What's the breaking news? It's giant. It's a third of the screen. Randall Cobb, 1-year deal to the Jets. The Jets are now, Tony, you're not saying anything when you say they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, if I gave them Aaron Rodgers last year, they would have made the playoffs.
They might have made the AFC Championship game if you gave him Aaron Rodgers last year.
If they merely made the decision earlier in the season to play Mike White, they would have made the playoffs.
Like, they have a legitimate defense. Their weapons are really good. Breece Hall comes back off that ACL tear with Aaron Rodgers. Like, this is a legitimate team.
They're also still the Jets.
That's fine, but they made it to 2 AFC Championship games before with Mark Sanchez, the Sanchez.
Yeah, but that's the longest drought in all of sports.
Bingo.
Since then.
Now the
No,
Rubik's
but I'm
Cube
so
is getting
tired
fixed.
of this New York stuff, man.
Yes.
I'm so tired of it. The Knicks win a playoff game or two, and all of a sudden it's Stephen A's fandom is showing for everybody to see, and it becomes a total clown show
They beat the
celebrating.
Cavs.
I mean, the New York's not good at anything
They're
for
not.
a long time.
You stink.
I saw a tweet. It's a tweet thread from a fan who was defending Josh Hart, okay? Josh Hart, who clearly, Jeremy, tell me if I'm wrong here, clearly tried to trip Jimmy Butler while
Twice.
pretending to avoid a screen that was from Gabe Vincent if it would have made contact with Josh Hart, potentially an illegal screen.
Correct. He didn't touch him.
Did not touch him. And in trying to avoid that said illegal screen, which you're not supposed to do, right? You want the ball back. You want the turnover. You're supposed to take it on unless he's not tough, unless he doesn't have any heart.
Whoa.
Whoa.
And so what he does is he just tries to chip Jimmy Butler and does that whole thing. And then there was a fan, a New York Knicks fan, on Twitter saying, don't set the illegal screen, Gabe. Maybe that doesn't happen. And then when it's told to him that it wasn't an illegal screen, he said, well, maybe he shouldn't have thought about or tried to set an illegal screen so that Josh Hart didn't There is nothing that Josh Hart could do to make this fan not a New York Knicks fan. The greatest fandom I've ever seen right there. Just finding excuses any way you can, and it's classic Knicks. So that whole thing about, hey, with Aaron Rodgers, they would have been, okay, whatever. They weren't. And they won't be this year because they'll finish third in the
Who was
division.
that fan? Ben Stiller?
No,
Jeez.
he's worse.
Oh my!
I mean, dude,
goodness,
they
what a
literally
baby cry.
haven't played a meaningful game.
Was it Hubie
in
Brown
23
that
years?
he was complaining about?
Was it?
If it
89-year-old
was,
Hubie Brown.
he better
Hubie Brown's on
back
our side now?
The fuck up.
Whoa.
Back the fuck off of my guy Hubie. Okay, that is my American grandfather. No offense, Poppy. He's Cuban, so you're okay. He is my American grandfather, and if you are talking shit about him because he is supposedly talking up Miami, we've got beef, Ben Stiller.
I can't believe we've escalated.
I
to
can't believe
Izzy.
you're this close with Hubie Brown.
Izzy, what? Why?
Yeah, no, you very clearly. I'm sorry.
But he's never been a Heat guy. Hubie Brown is famously, notoriously anti-Heat.
Doesn't matter.
I just like the visual of Ben Stiller's riding around somewhere listening to ESPN radio, because that's where Hubie Brown is on the call, is on ESPN
Nah, he was on
radio,
ABC
right?
this one.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a real broadcaster.
Thanks for watching the game, Zaz.
I was at the game.
I was there for that. Wow, you really screamed. So you didn't see Hubie?
No. I was watching the game. I'm watching the Heat take that ass right in front of me.
Oh, come on.
That's what I was doing.
They took the ass.
They took the ass.
Did they take the ass?
No, they took the ass.
The ass,
20 the whole game.
the
That's-
ass was
that's an ass
taken.
taken.
The Knicks came in with an ass, and then the Heat took it back into the
Yep.
locker room and stroked it?
Kyle Lowry. It's like
This is for us now.
Clarence Carter is a pervert. Like, it's,
Do you want to read the lyrics to that song? Just read the lyrics.
No,
'cause
no,
you've
be
been
very
playing
careful.
You've been playing it every break.
here's the
Just
gist of Clarence Carter stroking.
the gist.
Yeah. It's basically him like, hey, you ever do it in the butt? Like, that's the entire song. Like, what about in the shower? You do that? Like, hey, before breakfast, you get it in? It's like that's the entire song.
It's not wrong.
Yeah, like, yeah. You ever do it back to back?
He's
do it
just,
really quick.
asking questions.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
He's just-
He
he's
literally
curious.
says, "Let me ask you. You ever do it in the back seat of a car?"
Somebody writes in, didn't you clowns used to be a sports show? You've turned into the NPR version of The View.
He's that guy.
Izzy Gutierrez and Zaslow, when I look at them, the way their attire is for their...
I'm looking good today.
I always look good.
You look like sports radio.
You look like an adult, dude.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Does Zaslow look like sports radio? Because you do.
I'm proud, man. I'm proud right now of us. I am. I'm proud.
It's pretty incredible that we've never, like you said earlier in the show, never got to enjoy these two teams doing this at the exact same time.
That's not an exaggeration.
No,
it's
never,
factual.
It's never happened. And you wrap them up as underdogs, too.
Best sports town.
It's always been the worst. The Panthers have stunk for so long, and they were so good last year. Like, that team was supposed to soar through the postseason. Great offense.
Gutless.
And they blow it up.
Yeah.
Here's the wild part. This was like the most unlikable of seasons for the Panthers. We're headed in a direction where it could be one of our favorites ever.
Not just that, but you get a guy in Matthew Tkachuk who all of a sudden...
It's Tkachuk. No, it's not. It's not. It's not, Saz. No one calls him Tkachuk.
You're the only one who does this.
You're the only one. His dad played. I remember what they called his dad.
I don't know why you felt the need to make it Tkachuk.
Because I want to say it right.
But the PA doesn't say it right. The game broadcasters don't say it right.
Give my number. I'll help him out.
He goes by Chucky.
Chucky.
He doesn't go by Chucky.
That's what I was calling him at home.
Same effect,
in Miami, he would go by
Chucky. In Miami,
was
like, Chucky!
Chucky, yes. Yeah, Chucky's like your next big star. Like, he's the Dwayne Wade in town all of a sudden.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not next.
And so,
such a good trade.
Such a good trade.
Nobody does that.
It was a fantastic trade.
Nobody does what the Panthers did, blow up the best offense in the history of the sport regular season.
And they fired the coach, who was a coach of the year.
They were right, though. They were right about everything.
Yeah.
And I was wrong.
Since
I was
when?
very wrong. I was
How?
very wrong.
But
They're even right about
2
Bob
weeks ago.
now.
When does
They're
that
right about Bobrovsky
when
now.
does that franchise get to be right about anything?
When they win. This is all we needed.
They just
needed them to win.
They just took a note from Pat Riley. 2005, they get to the conference finals. They lose in 7
So
games.
It's not good enough.
Hey, run it back.
It's not good enough.
No, that team's not good enough.
Yep.
But that's why Mike's been killing this team all year.
You know what
This
was
Heat
weird?
team all year.
You know
He's
what
been
was
killing
weird?
them because he's like, well, you got close and your window closed and now you're done.
Well, yeah, I thought the window was done. I thought there was no way that we'd be here. I was wrong. And the fact that they get the stinky Knicks in the second round is like just a free pass of the conference
It's
finals.
like a bye, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a bye.
You're going to take back what you said about Julius Randle?
No, not at all. In fact, I'd like to double down. Julius Randle,
don't
I'll
do
be
that,
at the
Mike.
game tonight.
Don't do that,
Please,
Mike.
come find me.
Mike.
You wouldn't dare.
He was
You
calling him
wouldn't dare.
grande por gusto before.
You're not
big,
that guy, pal.
big for no reason.
You're not that. You know what? I'll be reaching over three rows because I'll be very close. You'll find me. I'll be wearing the
You've
exact
lost your
same shirt.
mind.
I'll be like, I want to shake your hand. Come on. I want to shake your hand. You're not going to shake my hand. You're not even going to look at me because I'm so in your head. You stink. You're a bad basketball player.
No.
You're so overrated.
Mike.
Every time the ball is in your hands, I am happy.
Well, he did say before, when Randall was hurt in game one, Mike did say, I need him. I want him to come back. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. In the postseason, if you trust him, you're doomed.
Yeah, Knicks fans were comparing him being out to Jimmy being out in game 2.
And somehow the second most ridiculous comparison I've ever heard with regards to Julius Randle and the Miami Heat.
Chris Bosh.
You know what Taylor was saying? You know, and by the way, who approved those social videos of Taylor speaking into a shoe? It's not even the right
Well,
Taylor.
I am so tired of everyone around here needs to be on camera. Like, and
Taylor, you are suspended.
Thank you.
Wow. You are suspended.
Thank you. God almighty. What kind of place
The only
we
way
running
you can be
around here?
unsuspended is if you eat the shoe. If the Heat win, you eat the shoe, I will lift suspension.
Wow,
you eat the shoe.
Old-time radio
You
hijinks.
eat that shoe. Damn it. Because if you're going to put yourself out there like that,
was
and it
that?
was just...
It was
I was
just
like,
an
is this going to
analysis
be
video.
funny?
No, there was no. Listen
He was
to me.
just standing in front of the
Let
arena.
me explain this to the audience because I don't understand how this person got in here. I don't know why it is we didn't vet him better than this. And then he's out there representing Le Batard and Friends and Metal Arc Media, talking into a shoe with serious analysis before Knicks game. All of his analysis terrible. Like, all of it truly bad.
You thought they
awful.
figured something out against the zone. It's like,
But
are we being funny?
Why was that distributed? I believe more people should be fired and suspended for this than just him. Why was that allowed to happen?
I watched it. It was way too long. I watched the entire time.
It was serious.
I was wondering, like, is the joke that it's serious? Why is there a
But
shoe?
he's speaking into a shoe, and that's the joke.
No,
How did we hire
you know,
this person? Why did we hire this person?
Suspend it again. And you have to eat the shoe. Just
part
a really bad video. But anyways, he was here before he got suspended, and he just, you know what he said? I would trade Julius Randle for cap space. Wow. It's over.
He's on the other side of the door. You guys can have this conversation with him right now. You know.
No, I don't want. I don't
He's
want him on
suspended.
the air
You don't
more.
get it, Izzy. He's
Taylor,
suspended.
Taylor, go sit. Look, go sit in the penalty box. You know what? No, walk across the street. Like, go somewhere and sit in the heat outside.
You're wearing jeans? Good.
Get out of here. Somebody give him a parka. Like, put him in and sit in the median. Sit in the median like an asshole. And hold one of your shoes to your mouth and talk into it. Going over there making videos on behalf of our show. Nick, I don't even know how that happens.
Did you ever think about making anyone laugh with that? You thought that was the right place for that? Get out of here.
He said as he walked away,
Go
I
sit
just
in
know
the street.
basketball is what he
No
said.
basketball.
You don't know shit. And when you're over there, tell Julius Randle I'm looking for him.
Can we throw up the video here? I was surprised by this over the weekend. Greg Hardy, a menacing pass rusher in a league that can use some of those, makes his way out of the league because a truly violent man off of the field that seemed awful, too awful for even football, beat a girlfriend in a way that was just unbelievably savage, then goes into UFC and just keeps getting his ass kicked by everybody. Everybody thought he was going to be the meanest guy, the toughest guy, because he's a crazy violent guy, and just skilled people destroy him again and again. And now, look at what he's doing, because Zaslow just asked me, what, did he fight this weekend? Yeah. No, he released...
Definitely not fight this weekend.
He released this video, which was being called a self-own from a cell phone, because this is kind of unbelievable.
So what happened was, I signed up at a marketing company because I'm trying to, start a couple companies of my own, get it how we live out here. Swear to God. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Homie called me into the office. It's a big-ass office. They got the music playing. They hyping it up. Thought I was on Wolf on Wall Street, bro. Turned out I'm Wolf in the back alley. Tell me why. It's like, your first day, you about to get big money. All you got to do is go sign some customers. I'm like, sign some customers? Thought we was marketing. We doing signs. We doing market analysis, using that graphic design degree that I got. Lo and behold, boy, come catch these hands. Shut the fuck up. Y'all don't want these hands. Lo and behold, then turned me into one of the fucking Walmart Spectrum greed. Your boy, listen, I don't know if you're in Texas, you're in Garland, come see your boy. We're in Walmart, I say some Spectrum, because I'm quitting today.
What?
Walmart, evidently, a Walmart employee for a while. People were enjoying watching him getting his ass kicked in the UFC because he's not much of a fighter, even though you would think he would be someone to be feared given his general violent streak.
Well, it probably is a fighter. He's just not a professional fighter.
What level of NFL player was he? Like, was he well enough known where if he didn't have this, domestic violence incident, would he still be a retired, let's say, NFL player who gets these opportunities? Was he not just put in that spotlight, put on a card, a main event card, just because he was known?
Yeah, he was notorious, but he was a football player. I think the last stop was Dallas Cowboys, but I don't know. He made $24 million and was a menacing pass rusher. And it's one of the few things ever to be too hot for that league. I mean, that league has had guys playing who have killed a woman in a drunk driving accident because you're such a good pass rusher. You can get back in the league.
Little back in the day. He actually was given chances. He found himself out of the league because he stopped producing. Yeah. And you couldn't rationalize the roster spot for someone that wasn't producing.
But his fame is extended because of the domestic violence incident. He was put on a card because it was like, hey, we'll save you over here.
Too notorious for the NFL.
Right.
Come make a living over here.
And Dana White
And he won
welcomed
his
him.
first couple fights.
Yeah,
which
no,
only
they booked
enhanced
him.
it.
They booked him pretty cleverly, and then he started going up as successful fighters do, and he went up against more skilled guys to the point that he'd lost like 2 or 3 in a row, and he just
lost
got
like 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah, he got straight up released by the UFC.
Which is what makes this all so disgusting to me, is that he was just sort of, like I said, extended some level of fame, and now he believes that, or for whatever reason, like he could still be in that place. And it's just like, look, if somebody's not going to prop you up, I think you're going to have a hard time maintaining that, because where you began, what this level of fame came from, or this extended level of fame came from, was from something that's gross and disgusting.
He
and nobody wants to-
He profited off of the pictures
Right.
of beating the holy hell out of his girlfriend. I believe some of the details involve throwing her on a bed full of guns. I probably don't need to explain to you based on the events of this weekend that can't be talked about enough, and yet we end up talking about it way too much. Again, another story of AR-15. Again, another story involving neo-Nazis. Again, another story of the horrific details of reaching into some bushes to check a child's pulse and the child has no face. Again, the horrific details of a mother dead on top of her child as the child is covered in blood saying, I think mommy's hurt, trying to protect her child. Greg Hardy profited off of that. It made him somebody who became more viable as a fighter being paid in the UFC because he was notorious. That's a shitty story. And I don't know if it's cliche to end up at a Walmart, but blown opportunities there are not the shittiest part of that story. His blown opportunities, if you go and read the details of what it is that he did and why we're talking about that name, it's about as savage a beating as could be administered by somebody, and it resulted in that league, him being too hot for that league.
It would be great if this could be the last time we ever have to talk about Greg Hardy, because realistically, like, this guy deserves everything that has come to him here, and I think that ultimately, like, you tell the details of that story, his name should be out of all of our mouths long term, because realistically, this is just a bad person who has done a lot of bad things and doesn't deserve any level of fame from a show like this or anywhere else.
Seems hypocritical to have done the last 6 minutes on him. We're going to have in a second here a horse racing expert because we have talked about the Kentucky Derby around here in previous years. And this year there were 7 horses that died in the week leading up to it. And I just wanted to talk to this horse racing person who knows more than I do about what happened there, because I know horses are dying all over the place, but that seems super inhumane in the name of everyone wearing nice outfits and drinking mint juleps to kill a bunch of horses. I mean, just 2023. I sound soft, right? Why would I care about the animals?
I don't know. It sounds terrible to me. I don't think it sounds soft.
That does seem high.
It sounds terrible.
I mean, but before this, right? It's
above average.
It's a pretty dirty business. It's pretty disgusting what they do to the animals in the name of our entertainment.
Remember Barbaro? That sucked.
But 7 seems like a lot, doesn't it? Like how many does it have to be for anybody to care?
I heard 7. I was like, oh, I care more. No.
And dying on the track and stuff.
That's not good. I didn't watch it though. So.
Okay, yeah, you didn't have time for it. So we will talk to that expert in a second.
Why would they put that during like a Formula One race? And they got to move the Kentucky Derby.
Zaslow though wanted to talk about that Celtics Sixers game because it was a pretty good one.
Game was awesome. I'm surprised Philadelphia ended up winning, but the part that gets me, and listen, let's make no mistakes about it. It's always F the Celtics in my house, all right? So I'm glad the Sixers won. But I don't know. I think it's weird that, like, Mazzulla takes, the tact of, being contentious with the media. No one's allowed to question me, adjustments, that kind of deal. You're 34 years old. You've literally done nothing as a head coach in the NBA. Nothing. Took over a team that was in the finals. You were gifted. Forget how it came about. He was gift-wrapped a very good team. He has done nothing in this league. How about the media can ask you questions? How about they can ask you questions? And you save your timeouts. And I know it's a thing. I know it's been a thing all year where he doesn't use the timeouts in the end there and he lets the guys play. But how about the media can ask a couple questions when you don't use your timeouts, and then with the game on the line, you don't get a shot off? How about we ask a couple questions and it's okay?
Zaslow, hold on, dude. We'll get back to that. I promise you there will be space to do that.
There's a lot there.
But Patrick Battuello is with us now, and according, you were saying that's a lot, 7 in a week, but according to the activist group Horse Racing Wrongs, 2,000 racehorses die every year at tracks across America. It's about 6 per day, and 7 died last week at Churchill Downs. Patrick, thank you for joining us on the show. Can you explain to me what happened here?
Yeah, so what happened here, Dan, is that this was finally covered by the national media. So while the cluster is unusual, 7 kills in 10 days, the killing is not unusual. So over the past 5 years, Churchill Downs has had 126 horses die on the grounds. That's an average of 25 per year. So far, 4 months in, there's 7. That's 7. So clearly seeing this as business as usual. Same thing happened at Laurel Park in Maryland just last month. They had kills in back-to-back races. The track closed down for a few days. There was a lot of finger pointing between the horseman and the track owner. But we were reminding media in Baltimore that, again, this is business as usual. Laurel Park averages 30 kills annually. Nothing unusual about the death at the track.
What is this sport fundamentally doing to the bodies of these animals?
Sure. So first off, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be on your show. I'm a big fan of yours. The problem is calling this a sport. So right from the very beginning, this is nothing but base animal exploitation and animal cruelty. And we have been sold a bill of goods by the horse racing industry for over 150 years. We are conditioned to think of this as sport. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I wasn't a horse racing fan per se, but I remember Affirmed and Seattle Slew going for the Triple Crown because it was sold to me as just another sport. Just some obvious things, first off. In what other sport are the athletes condemned to a life of literal chattel? In what other sport are the athletes kept intensively confined, alone, for over 23 hours a day? And most glaringly, in what other sport are the athletes regularly dying on the playing field and after having the rest of the game continue? It's absurd. And of course, in what other sport are most of the athletes bled out and butchered upon retirement? We have to stop thinking of horse racing as a sport and, again, call it what it is. It's animal cruelty and it's animal killing.
You're a one-man watchdog. Why aren't people listening to you? Why does no one care? No one seem to care?
We have made progress. We've only been around since 2014, and it seems like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't. Before we came on the scene, no one knew how many horses were dying, let alone the circumstances in which they were dying. We started filing FOIA requests with state racing commissions around the country right from the beginning. So we started compiling these killed in action lists going back to 2014. To date, we have confirmed names, dates, locations, details, almost 10,000 deaths at U.S. tracks. Again, as you mentioned, we estimate that there are actually over 2,000 dying across America every year. That's about 6 horses every single day. And people are listening. So we were dismissed as animal rights extremists from the beginning. But as time has gone on, I've been on HBO, CNN, ESPN, Washington Post solicited an editorial from me. Our messaging is starting to gain more and more resonance within the larger public. Just in the past couple of years, the editorial boards of both the Washington Post and the Philadelphia Inquirer have called for horse racing to end, not to be reformed, but to end. So finally, that messaging is starting to come through. Obviously, when you look at the Triple Crown season and they're reporting a record handle amount wagered on the races a Saturday at Churchill Downs, it looks like it's an uphill climb. And in a lot of respects, it is. But that's horse racing at a tiny, tiny fraction of tracks for just a handful of days each year. The rest of it is ugly and mean and cruel. And it's being heavily, heavily subsidized by taxpayers. So we estimate that anywhere between 70 and 75% of tracks in America would have shuttered years ago without this massive subsidization. It's something that doesn't get reported on too often, and we're trying to bring that more to light. We have legislation here in New York State to end those subsidies and to give it back to where it belongs. It's to education, to school children. And again, this is playing out across the country, this subsidies. So
Patrick, if I may real quick,
quick,
if I can get you, because I've got a lot of questions, if I get you to just shorten your answers so we can get a little more information in here. Izzy, you had something for Patrick?
Yeah, hi, Patrick. Just for those who are sort of out of sight, out of mind and say, I've got way too much to worry about than these horses, if you can provide some sort of details where if everyday people who didn't care as much saw them or knew of them would say, wow, that's something I should definitely pay attention to.
Yeah, so I always recommend, Izzy, that people just go to our website and just spend 15 minutes on the site. We have a category called How They Die. It's a sampling that I compile each year of horses who died during the past 12 months. The details, it's all in the details. Most people think it's a simple break of a leg, and because horses aren't good candidates for surgery, they have to euthanize. These are gruesome details.
What are some of the more alarming details? Because you're doing very meticulous work. It's journalism that you're doing.
Right. So in addition to the what they call catastrophic limb fractures, they die of a sudden cardiac events, as they call them. These are pubescent adolescent horses just keeling over and dying. 2 died at Churchill under those circumstances within the past week. They die of pulmonary hemorrhage, so they're bleeding out from their lungs, blunt force head trauma from collisions with other horses or the track itself. They die of broken necks, severed spines, ruptured ligaments. So they die in various ways, and it's the details. When people start reading through these and see the amount of suffering that is involved in horse racing day in and day out, and again, it's not just about the killing. I'd love to go into some of the other aspects of it, but I'm sure you have other questions.
Well, how does this still exist? Is it too big to fail? I mean, what are we doing?
It exists. Again, it goes back to that brilliant marketing for over 150 years. And look at the Kentucky Derby, the Run for the Roses, the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. It's called the Sport of Kings. So we always like to juxtapose dog racing and horse racing. In regard to how the animals are treated, there's not a whit of difference between the two. If anything, horse racing is worse because of slaughter. We're talking multiple thousands of these spent racehorses being bled out and butchered for European and Asian dinner plates every year. But it's all about the marketing. Dog racing was always considered just a gambling medium, where horse racing is considered a sport or talked about in the context of sport. So that is our biggest hurdle, is we have to start getting people to reassess this. And I'm confident that if they come to it with an open mind, that they will see it for what it is. Again, animal exploitation and animal cruelty. And it's no different than dog racing. Dog racing, by the way, is all but dead in America. There are only 2 tracks left, both in West Virginia. And even more telling, it's prohibited legally on moral grounds in 42 states. And horse racing is given cover under the banner of sport.
Patrick, I ruined the show. Everybody was having fun. Everybody was hanging out, talking about Heat and Panthers, and now it's all dead horses.
I know.
It's all dead horses. It's activism and dead horses.
It's very serious subject matter. I apologize, but it is what it is.
I lost Mike Ryan, and he is so fueled from all he snorted this weekend, and I've lost Mike Ryan. He doesn't. He's like, really? We had to do this today? Giant playoff run from these sports teams, and we got to talk about goddamn dead horses.
I know. I'm on how they die, and they do describe.
Yeah, it's awful. I've ruined the show. I'm going to go sit in the penalty box. Patrick, you handle it with them.
Hey, Patrick, since I got the steering wheel now, I'm going to go ahead and let you go because it was just probably not the best day to have you on. You know, we just got a lot. Did you watch Sergei Bobrovsky last night? Any takeaways? I don't understand why the Toronto Maple Leafs continue to think that they can beat them low. Also, Mitch Marner, what are you doing out there? Like, get involved. Like, his vision set him apart during the season, but the guy is just totally lost out there. I think Cousins is in his head.
Your thoughts, Patrick?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Oh, I'm 6'4" with these shoes on, and I'm about 230. If Julius Randle stepped to me, Julius Randle of the New York Knicks, how much time before he goes down?
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Lucky if he gets there. Lucky. All right, Patrick. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sorry about the horses.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
I got to apologize on behalf of Dan Zaslow because you were on a roll there with your Boston Celtics take, and then we just stopped to just sort of cry over something that, deserves some attention. But come on, horses, dead horses, not really the vibe of the show. So you were saying so eloquently about those damn Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Well, like I said, it's always F the Celtics in the Zaslow mansion. Mm-hmm. But trying to look at it objectively, I'm a very professional media member, all right? Trying to look at it objectively. I don't understand the whole – Mazzulla comes off to me smartest guy in the room a little bit. Smartest guy in the room a little bit. And the reality of it is the media is allowed to ask you questions, especially when you take over a team who was great last year, super expectations. And let's be honest so far. The Hawks had no business taking the Celtics to 6 games, let alone winning Game 5 in Boston to force the Game 6 in Atlanta. And now you're 2-2 here in the semifinal against a Sixer team that we know is not a threat to win the NBA championship this year. So when the media wants to ask questions about, like, I get it, you know more basketball than all the guys in front of you asking questions, but you're no better than every other coach who's been in that podium before you and has asked questions by the media.
I got to be careful because, doing that dance of, right, like opinions on one side and then talking to them on the other side. But, like, I remember, and I don't know if this is the one incident that you're talking about, but it was between games 1 and 2 of this series, I believe, where he said at the end of a thing, aren't you going to ask me about the adjustments I made?
Okay.
And so, first of all, that wasn't what people were getting on him about the previous game. The previous game was in-game adjustments, not from one game to the next. I don't think anybody questioned necessarily his adjustments from one game to the next. But you're 100% right. That level of arrogance that comes with him.
Done nothing.
But it also, I don't think it helps the team. Like, it's just their whole approach this year. And so think about this. We're talking about, like, let's go to the 14-13 San Antonio Spurs, right? Painful. Probably the most painful loss in the finals ever. Use that fuel all year long, perfect little details of what they do. Next year, dominate, right? This Celtics team, they had a lot of issues that they were supposed to take care of the ball better, right? You can't get rid of all those turnovers. Jaylen Brown turns the ball over too much. Jason Tatum, look at his finals numbers, did not show up in games where it mattered the most. And there was just a lot of, not enough sharing of the ball, just a lot of people trying to take over. And they're trying to fix that, right? The way they're trying to fix that, the personality of Joe Mazzulla is just fix it. You know what I mean? It's just like, do it better. And it's like, all right, you're 34 years old. Like, they're not going to sit here and just bow down to you and be like, all right, you know what? He's got it. Those players are effectively, in my opinion anyway, using the experience of last year, using their assistant coaches, using everybody on their own, and still getting there that way. I don't think Joe is the guy that's really driving them. And the reason I say that is you look at games like this of importance, they're doing the same things over and over again, the same failures that they had in the past, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to learn from last year and win it all. And I think especially when you look at moments like last night, not calling a timeout down the stretch there and not getting a shot off, those are the little things that the coaches are going to carry you through these playoffs. And if it was Ime, pretty sure they'd be better set than they were with Joe Mazzulla last night.
And it didn't appear, from what I was seeing on Twitter, like the Sixers were all that great in their own right. They weren't really executing well down the stretch. And Boston,
Celtics were up 5 in overtime.
Boston just breathed life into this series because that was pretty much all she wrote. And, the makeup of those players, they'll be halfway to Cancun. If the Celtics hang on to that game.
I got a question for you guys, and this is for a real hooper, all right, so anybody can answer. What is, like, Jason Tatum started that play, his signature move or his signature shot, what did you think it was going to be, right? Because when I think of Jason Tatum making a big shot, it's always just that sidestep three. That can't be your go-to move every single time. You got a game winner. So when he starts driving, I'm like, where's he going with this? And there wasn't. He doesn't have that pull-up. He doesn't have like a turn. It would probably go with a, fake one, pivot one way and turn around jumper the other way. And even then, you're talking about a fadeaway, which I don't know how many of those you get during the game normally. So I just don't think they even fixed that problem. Like, where do you go down the stretch? If you're putting the ball in that guy's hands, what's the answer? If it's a sidestep three every time, that's not good enough.
It's not only not good enough, it's that he's got to evolve his game. He's already so dynamic on the offensive end, right? Everybody's going to be keying in on you. You got to make the play earlier, right? Yes. It almost felt to me like he just waited a little bit too long. Because remember, if you go back to regular time, the way it ended, they swung the ball around, rebound, all of a sudden back out to Marcus Smart. He misses the shot.
That's what you needed there too.
Right. And he, funny enough, on the bench, he's like, I got the next one. And he actually did end up making the next one just a second too late. But if you're Jason Tatum, you're driving baseline, Embiid's down there, Tobias Harris is lurking, people are around there, you got to make that action much faster.
And that's also one of those things, like, I get it. I know that Mazzulla doesn't call timeouts in that spot all throughout the season. But when you call a timeout in that spot, one of the things that you are telling your guys is, hey, let's get that shot up with about 4 seconds left. So either offensive rebound, which is totally possible in that spot because everyone is scrambling late in the game like that, or let's foul and get another chance, even if they make both free throws.
At the very least, and so if you don't call a timeout, you assume your team knows that. So obviously they didn't. And at the very least, you've got to give yourself an opportunity for a tip-in. You absolutely have to give yourself that chance, and they didn't give it to themselves. And so personality-wise, right? So I don't know what Joe Mazzulla's strengths are, right? We're only now learning what actually Eric Spoelstra's strengths are after years. I don't know what his strengths are, but I do know that what he offers, at least out, in the public, is not something that complements this team's personality. You've got Jaylen Brown, who never says a word above like this, like volume right here, and he's always so serious. And Jason Tatum, while I give him a ton of credit, because early on in his career, he did not want to talk to anybody. He just struggled, but he's been a lot more thoughtful with his answers. He's been a better leader out there. You see him try to bring some of that joy, some of that fire, but it's not really him. It's not his personality. The personality that this team has is from Marcus Smart, but when he starts to show some of that, people, I think, probably just like look away because it's just like, well, if he's actually feeling himself, that team might get sloppy. They might have 4, 5, 6 turnovers in a row. And so you're looking at your main guys for a reason, and they're just not giving it to you, and the coach isn't giving you anything other than more intensity. And it's like, I don't know, like I think they need some sort of joy in this group, something that makes them reminds themselves that, hey, yeah, we failed last year, but part of the reason we failed is because we took ourselves too seriously down the stretch, or we just were too intense. And
it reminds
like,
you a little bit of a
basketball.
2020 in the bubble. Like when they played the Heat in the bubble in 2020, they were like a super serious team that was like right on the edge of being super angry with each other. And then you had like that meeting when the Heat went up, either 2-0 or they went up 3-1, and Marcus Smart is throwing a chair in the locker room, right? Like they were really on edge, that team.
The irony is, you talk about being able to mix it up and feel like you have something different with the Celtics and get some of that joy back. And the irony is that's actually what Kevin Love has provided for the Miami Heat. Like they, no pun intended, but they love Kevin Love, where they're after the game, they're yelling, "Lead us, Kevin!" And they have this bit that's going on with the team. They're cracking jokes. He and Jimmy Butler are wiping the sideline after it looks like a player steps out of bounds during a run for the bench. This team has that sort of fun inserted into them here right before the end of the season. While they weren't playing all that well, chemistry is part of what's leading the Heat to where they are right now. So seeing those two teams go in those sort of opposite directions as they may meet in the Eastern Conference Finals is really interesting.
And their team chemistry was bad at the start of the season. It was like anybody that covers that team knows, like
it was actively bad.
Yeah, the air was thick.
Would you say right now, with I guess we're talking 8 teams remaining in the playoffs, is there a team that comes off more confident right now than the Heat?
No. More
confident? I don't think there is.
The Lakers look pretty good.
I would say the Lakers would be the only one.
Confident.
The Lakers would be the one that I would say they're probably a really confident group right now.
I don't see confidence in Anthony
Davis.
I
am here for a bubble rematch.
Please.
And just throw away every single stupid narrative that went with that playoff run, because the basketball was brilliant. And I think in many respects it was actually harder to succeed there. And everyone goes the other way on that. I am here to put that bubble discussion to bed. I want a rematch of that finals.
Well, Mike Scherr is going to get what he wants. He's going to get scared to death in that Celtics, because I think the Celtics are going to win that series, Celtics-Heat matchup. And, I don't know if I think the Heat are in better position this year to win it. First of all, from what I maybe heard third hand.
You don't know if the Heat are in better
position. Tyler Hero a little bit ahead of schedule. So if they go deep into the conference finals, you might get him back. But that's a team, like, I just don't look, what was going on with Joel Embiid last night? Okay, Joel Embiid looked like a guy who was prepared to make the excuses all over again and say, wow, look what this franchise has gotten me, not enough. And then James Harden did it for him. And so that's 2 games.
And PJ Tucker yelled at him.
Gave him 40+. So Joel Embiid, just right now, today, out of excuses. He's out of excuses.
Embiid was doing some of that stuff, like not setting screens while they weren't executing. And it was almost – he kind of played with this notion last time. And I know he and Jimmy have their very public flirting with one another. He was doing the disgruntled superstar, will this be the last time you see me in this jersey type of stuff. And then James Harden extends the series. And no one really wanted it to extend. It was the only person that wanted it to extend was Mazzulla. He totally gave them life. And if they lose this series, you can circle that game and those moments down the stretch.
Down the stretch, too, you were waiting for Embiid to kind of take over.
He just hangs out.
And it never did. It never happened. That and one by PJ Tucker was huge. And then that's when he gets in his ear in the block and is like, you better do something, and not those words. But you kept waiting for him in overtime. All right, this is Embiid's time. He's going to take over. He's going to take over, and he just doesn't.
And twice on a jumper and at the rim, twice getting blocked by Horford. Come on.
And that's a space that you got to be in where you feel good if you are Miami. Look, Miami obviously still has to get past the Knicks, all of those things. But if they face either Philadelphia or Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, you have to feel good that you know your best player is arguably the best closer left in these NBA playoffs, where you look at the best player in Jason Tatum and you look at the best player in Joel Embiid. He is still the better player than James Harden. The best player for each of those teams has not necessarily come up clutch for these teams throughout the season, has not been good in the finishing moments, and that's going to be a close, hotly contested series. You got to feel good if you're the Heat, where you played in all those clutch games all year, and everybody kept saying, when we covered the team, everybody kept saying these clutch games, whether we win or lose, they're going to be good for us. Come playoff time, they're going to be good for us. And look, in this moment, you're seeing that come to fruition. In these close games, Jimmy was able to close things out against Milwaukee. The Heat have been able to do it in a bunch of different ways, and now they have to feel confident as they continue to move forward. If they can take a 3-1 lead tonight, which is probable, you're in a really good position as those other two teams beat each other up.
I've seen journalist over there. Of course, they're going to win in 5. I've seen too many late possessions where Joel Embiid gets defended well by a 6'9" guy. Whether it be Bam, whether it be Al Horford last night, it's just like,
how's Horford blocking his jumper?
No idea. No clue. Harden would cook Horford the entire game, and Joel Embiid cannot.
I just don't understand the chilling on the 3-point line. Like, they're down 2 in overtime. Go set up on the block.
That's part of one of those where I believe maybe his knee might have something to do with it, and we can't really say how much his knee is affecting him. But I still believe that they, meaning the Sixers, are scared to death about the prospect of facing the Heat again, just like the Celtics.
They're playing for the right to lose to the Heat.
I have not been able to shake the mental image of what Huey Lewis's penis must look like. The world's greatest groupie says that it's him by a wide margin, and I've seen Tommy Lee's penis.
Okay.
Like, there's no way.
Look,
I've seen it numerous times.
I don't.
There's no way Huey Lewis has a much bigger penis. Than
I'm
Tommy
embarrassed by a handful of things that have happened today regarding you in general. Okay, because you've been totally out of control. The idea that you would stoop to summoning Julius Randle for a fight, and it's like fourth on your list of crimes today. Like, you have been obnoxious, even well beyond your normal standards of obnoxious. However, this is what I will say is even more embarrassing than that somehow. The way this show has talked about the Knicks and the Heat, if the Heat lose to the Knicks tonight,
no chance.
If the Heat lose to the Knicks tonight, like, you guys sound like such
Fantasyland.
absurd emotional fanboys about this.
You've watched these teams play basketball, yes?
But you're not allowed to be that confident and obnoxious when you haven't trusted that
Yes.
team. You aren't
Zaslow
allowed.
says I am.
No, he's allowed to be back. Look, I had bad moments with the Panthers the last time I was in here. I fired everyone. I got rid of everyone. I traded our captain.
Zaslow.
You're allowed to have bad moments.
Zaslow, you're talking shit about the Maple Leafs, and every third period of this series, you have had vomit in your mouth.
Oh yeah, I've been on the verge of projectile vomit. Any misplay by the Panthers, it's
for 10 days you've had vomit in your mouth about the Panthers.
It's okay every once in a while to say, "Hey, get out of my life, Max Strus."
Yeah,
like, you
that's
don't
right.
really mean it. We all just want to give Strus a hug and say, "Don't worry, you're going to make those shots in the playoffs, and look what's happening." But you got to just get those emotions out there, and it doesn't
it's
make
okay.
you a bad
This is part of the
fan.
BAM experience.
It's okay.
That'll always be BAM.
You're forgiving yourself, and I'm embarrassed by you guys. I'm embarrassed, Mike.
No. What? This is the emotional spectrum that I reside on. Oh, okay. I'm not allowed to be a Bucks fan, but now you're watching my content and you're slopping it up like soup because I'm challenging Julius Randle to a fight. And you love it.
You're going to trade all of them if they lose to the Knicks.
Look, I
tonight.
will never like Kyle Lowry. It's just not going to happen. Okay? I don't care. I don't care if he's really good down the stretch. I'll say, hey, that guy was really good down the stretch, but also I don't like him. He's a bad player.
Every time Lowry scored in Game 3, I was there with my family. Every time Lowry scored in Game 3, my younger son, he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Your boy."
To quote Bad Bunny, "Ya Dios me perdonó, falta tú." All right? That just means I've already forgiven myself. God has forgiven me. I can be a bad fan for a second. You, Dan, are the only one who's left to forgive us.
Well,
and it's okay.
I'm not.
Also, in the immortal words of Bad Bunny, Julius Randle, I'm going to Puerto Rico to kick your ass.
You have to stop it. You have to stop. You got to stop, Mike.
You and me,
Mike.
Street fight.
Mike, you're being unprofessional, and this is the part.
Cabron.
Do you know how hard it is to embarrass me and everything happening around here when, I'm not making this up, Zaslow, an adult male presently wearing a too tight Panthers jersey from three franchises.
It's somehow too tight and too baggy. I don't understand
Not too tight.
The hat is also too tight and too baggy.
Good hat.
It's a good.
That hat is not a good hat.
I'm looking good today.
What year is that hat from?
Yo, don't worry about that.
Is that a Nike hat? Was
year?
that
What
the
year?
Nike contract?
What year is the Hurricanes
that-
hat from? How old is that? hat?
I think it's an Adidas hat.
What?
It's a good hat.
No, it's a bad hat.
It has no branding
You
whatsoever.
want to know a good hat? It smacked you in the face. This is a good hat.
I would know a good hat if it smacked me.
And
in the
it's a
face.
good jersey. It's a sweater. I want to make sure it's an
Do you have a
inclusive
fight
show.
strap?
So when you say sweater, that's like a hockey jersey.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
want
how I
you to
know
be
that guy
confused.
knows puck. If they call it a sweater and not a jersey, I'm like, ooh, that guy knows puck.
I don't want you to be confused.
Do you have a fight strap?
though.
No, I don't have a fight strap.
You gotta have a fight strap.
All right, forgive me for just a second, though, because among the things that I am embarrassed about this show and this wildly unprofessional Zaslow with his "We the Heat."
I don't think
Really
that's an Adidas
professional
hat.
today.
I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm
how
gonna
many
take
of us
that
have
hat.
championship
That
rings?
is
I
not.
feel like I can say
You
we.
got that at Ross.
The bet is he
You
gets
got
to
that at
slap
Ross.
you across the face if you're wrong. If you come
right.
in here and check
Yeah.
it, he gets.
You
if said
actually get
You
to-
wouldn't get a hat if it slapped you in the face. If you
get to
lose the
throw
bet.
that hat at my face.
Okay.
If it's an Adidas
Can I
brand.
paintbrush you with it if it's Adidas?
No, it's not Adidas. That's a Kirkland hat.
No.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a Kirkland
but
hat.
hold on, Mike. But I want you to understand that the level of embarrassment pales compared to the level of embarrassment Zaslow's wife at Saturday.
Oh, that's true.
Saturday at the end of the game.
That's true.
Was waving goodbye.
Like 4 minutes left.
Waving goodbye to Knicks fans until she shouted at him to sit down because he was giving a bad example to the child that they have.
Because like Knicks fans and Heat fans are fighting. There were several incidents with security and police in our section, the section right next to us, and yeah, it was like 4 minutes left. You know, we're kicking their ass up and down the floor. What do you expect?
Again with we.
What do you expect? We're so much better than them.
Did you
and
show them the rings?
No, I don't wear them. Like, look, I don't just wear my championship rings like all willy nilly. Like, I got to be going somewhere like cool, you know, somewhere nice.
When are you gonna? You didn't wear it to the last game?
No. I don't wear it during the day. That's a night. That's a going out thing. Look at me. Look how big these rings are. And I was waving goodbye. Oh, bye, Knicks fans. Goodbye. And my wife I got the death stare. I had to sit back down.
That is not even the right color green for the Hurricanes. It's a wrong shade of
Yo,
green.
come on in here and check. It's definitely not Kirkland. I don't know what to tell you.
That was the logo from like 2004.
Mike, go ahead and check it out.
There's a wide receiver in between the U's.
Before you check it out, I want to stir the flames on. You know, Zaslow and Cote, Greg Cote, have enormous beef, right?
A lot of heat.
Greg Cote of the Miami Herald, longtime columnist. Zaslow has been making fun of Greg Cote's columns for the better part of 15 years.
That's right. I'm much longer than that. I mean, it all starts in '93. You can't trade Marino and not think I'm going to be on your case.
93. I wasn't even bored. I was 2.
Trades Marino. I'm gonna forget that.
Which part about his columns gets you the most? Is it the fact that he always includes all the teams in no matter what column he's writing about?
I mean, it's really because it's like, you know, which way's the wind blowing today, and that's what we're gonna write. Like, that really is it. Let me also preface, I think he's a really nice man. I don't have to like all of his work. I hope he thinks
you don't like any of his work.
I hope he thinks that I'm a nice young man, but he doesn't have to like my work.
You have been sending me texts.
Oh, here, text.
It's a really bad hat. You don't.
That's
do the
Adidas.
flex fit backwards. Oh, it is Adidas.
Hell
wow.
It's a bad hat.
Oh yes.
Paintbrush his face.
Oh yes.
All right, well,
Somebody's getting paintbrushed.
Right here. Let's go ahead. Paintbrush him right here. Now is the time to paintbrush him. Hold on. Make sure to play the cameras here.
Give me that hard. Okay.
How does it smell, Mike?
That's how you paintbrush.
All right. Don't wear a flex fit hat backwards. No one does that.
I realized what it was. Mike's mistake was that Zaz was wearing the headphones right over where the Adidas sign was.
Covered
Right
that logo.
over. You can't see it.
Regardless, it can be said now, and this is the weird thing about it. Greg Cote has no bigger fan as an entertainer anywhere in the universe than Izzy Gutierrez.
Is that right?
Yeah. He's the best. If I had one wish for all of time, it would be that Greg Cote lives forever. Because just him sitting in that spot right there, he doesn't even have to say but 5 words on any given show. It's just amazing content. I love it.
I
love
think
the man.
I used to take it as a personal affront to radio that he would sit here, you know, the other building, and just doesn't know anything about how to do radio. I used to take it. It was an now look, I was younger. Okay, I've come a long way, but it used to be an insult to me that you're in there and you don't know how to do anything, and it would bother me.
I just laugh at it. I mean, how can you not
like
just
the
laugh at it?
microphone's not on. He's talking. He doesn't realize that we're on the air. You got the hard outs. It's like he's coughing into the microphone.
Counterpoint. Did you see that picture of him harness racing? He was wearing the same shoes that he had a funeral for. That was like a 20-year-old photo. Like, just looking at that photo, I can entertain myself for about 15
what
minutes.
Did you just ask him if he had seen? I now have to send. I'm going to send Mike so that they can put video of this up here on the TV screen.
It's amazing.
You are going so inside there, Izzy.
The
on
funeral.
Have you? No, but that's it. He said, "Have you seen the photograph of Greg Cote on a harness racing horse?"
Well, I didn't realize that it's shocking because they're not ponies. They're tiny horses. They're little Sebastians.
Don't let our previous guests know about this.
I know, right? It's crazy. And there's just Greg Cote just smiling all happy as hell, wearing famous shoes that are, now dead. And there's a tiny horse in front of him, and it's just it's an amazing
But
photo.
here's also the reality. Like, we got off to a really bad start because, like I said, you can't trade Marino.
30 years ago, traded Marino.
It's what he's most known for. It's not like I'm holding on to it.
Do you remember what Scott Mitchell looked like in that next game after Marino got hurt?
They were 9-2. They were 9-2.
Amazing.
And then they lost their last 5 and missed the playoffs. They were 9-2. But it's Marino. And then the next time we saw Marino, after Greg Cote traded him, he threw for 5 touchdowns. And he was Dan the Man on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You can't trade Marino.
How did it end, though? I think you can trade Marino.
That's where it started. That's where it started. It's
We got off on the wrong foot.
No, but the problem that Zaslow has with Cote is that that's the last memorable column he wrote of any kind.
I remember a news story he broke, but I don't remember a column.
Very
that he wrote.
polarizing. Very polarizing. You can't trade Marino, okay? That's not my fault.
It says here that it has thickness and length. It's like the total package.
What?
Mike, go sit in the penalty box.
What?
It's enough.
You would
It's
think I
enough.
would enjoy penis talk, but there's just something about Huey Lewis penis talk that Mike is just going way too aggressive.
It's enough,
with.
Mike.
He's also like, how old is he now?
There's no controlling you. Well, now
70.
they're saying he doesn't have hearing anymore. At this point, you're talking about an old man's giant penis.
Yeah.
72 years old.
Old deaf man.
That's what you're doing. That's what you've dedicated our show to after the weekend that you had. Snorting F1, hanging out with Shaq. You're polluted, Mike, and you're changing because you're like, you want to be this mover and shaker guy who's sitting at the Heat game tonight. And if the Heat lose tonight, Mike.
Yeah, they're not.
Fantasy
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah. Zaslow told you. They're not losing.
You think it's bigger than Shaq's?
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
You just said Shaq.
Why
It's the
are you
first thing
still
that come up.
here?
What? You were asking me a question. What?
Get out.
The question was that's a declarative sentence. Get out? Well, actually, I think that was imperative.
I'm embarrassed by this show right now. It's fanboying, and Taché wants to get in here, and he's the biggest homer we got around here.
I could have given you some actual analysis on basketball. I think we have about 30 seconds. The adjustment from the Heat was to send Jimmy Butler at Jalen Brunson instead of putting him on R.J. Barrett. That allowed Jimmy to sort of roam when Jalen Brunson came into the lane, guarded by Gabe Vincent. Allowed him to be sort of a free safety out there. And so ultimately we'll see whether Tom Thibodeau can make the adjustment going into Game 4. The problem is the Knicks don't have the personnel to do it. Heat in 5, baby.
Can we stop this, please? I just watched Obi Toppin and Gabe Vincent going at each other in New York. Will you guys look at the other teams playing in these playoffs?
I'm embarrassed by your greens clashing over there. You have no idea what you're wearing.
I told you it was Adidas.
Oh, I am happy to see this man's face right here. I have missed his acid spewing, and you can get the most recent version of it. Tragically I Need You is free on YouTube now. I can call him a legend, correct? Lewis Black is a legend.
Yeah. 75
years old and still bringing it. Lewis, thank you for being on with us. I can't even imagine what the pandemic has been like for you. I just imagine you opening your window and just spitting bile at the rest of America, anything that's outside your window.
Well, yeah, no, I just wandered around. I have a terrace, so I'm lucky, and I just wandered around on it, bellowing, and then applauding the workers, and until my hands bled, and then it was not. I didn't do well. Okay, and then I did a special about how I didn't do well, and people still comment as if it was a political special. Idiots! I'm talking about me and my problems, not your problems.
It's
my problem. It's a health problem. Then they could say I'm whining. I said, screw you. I don't need it. But I'm pleased with the special. I mean, the special was, I went out, started talking, yelling about it, and I was able to get a lot off my chest.
From pain births comedy, yes, still.
Some what?
Pain births comedy.
Yes. Yeah, it does. But you don't have to have a family that like tortures you in order to become a comic. Okay, that's another myth.
But you would say, like, you've been able to carry the furnace of fury for a long time. Are things getting any better?
Oh, no. The thing I say in my act now is people who yell at me about something that I say, I go, you got to realize whatever I say has no effect on anything. I've done this for 40 years, and not only has nothing changed, it's gotten worse.
Touring at your age or at any age is difficult, is it not?
Well, it's a little rough, but I'm really lucky. From the very beginning, I got a tour bus. So at times it makes it tougher because of scheduling, and where you wander from one city here to a city there in order to be able to make the connections. But it beats getting on a plane every day, and you get to see the country.
Is there anything harder in entertainment than what you do?
Working for idiots. I'm sure that Dan, I can't remember you. Did you do radio? You must have done radio at some time, right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
That's harder. You've got a whole bunch of schmucks talking to you about the way you do stuff.
It's not harder, though. It's you and your ability to make people laugh with the expectation of laughter. I've always thought that stand-up comedy is the hardest thing.
It's hard to learn, but once you've got it, once you're doing it, once you're lucky enough to have the skill, if you created the skill, then it's not so bad because it's just you make the decision. So the club owner can come up to you and say something, but you know what happened that night. It's you and the audience, and that's it. And there's no middleman, which makes a big difference. And it's usually a middleman.
When's the last time you bombed?
Wow. I'm kind of I haven't really bombed in a while because I get to that point now. People look at me and they go, "Oh, he's so old now. We can't really. We're gonna have to giggle at least."
Just as a courtesy, they're giving you the courtesy. Do you have any place that you have been in your career that you recall, and I ask this question of comedians a lot, where during the grind, you're looking around the room and being like, oh my God, this is a horror. I can't believe that I have to do this in order to get to my dreams.
You mean from the beginning?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, God. There were rooms that, I appeared in a room the first time I was making the decision. I was doing a summer run in Michigan with a friend of mine, John Bowman, a really great comic and he took me along with him and took me to all these places. And we were up near Ferris State University, which is way up in Michigan. And we were at a club up there. And it was a sports bar. So I'm literally standing. There's like 150 people there. They're drinking not out of glasses. They're drinking out of pitchers. I mean, which I admired, and but the whole time I'm thinking, I want one of those pitchers. As a matter of fact, I want to shove one of my heads in the pitchers, because in the back of the room there's a row of like 25 Papa shots. So they're like sitting there shooting baskets. People are just yelling, they're barking and doing that. And I thought, wow, is this what I'm going to have to go through? And I did. Here's an interesting story. So, but that's how you learn. So I'm on stage, and the first thing, and I'm in a room that's as Nordic as it gets. Okay, it looks like it looks like a meeting of the young Bund has gotten together up there, and they're going to be marching in a minute, and it's me. And I the first joke I do, I say, and it's a joke that one of my first jokes. I broke into this business when I was very young. I was 13. I was bar mitzvahed. That's a stand-up gig we Jews have. You say a few prayers over a credit card, bam, you're a man. So I hit bar and looking at this audience, and I might as well have been barking, like I might have been up there going, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." And I finished nothing. I mean, half of them aren't listening anyway. The other half are stupefied, and people are still making baskets. And I literally turned to the audience and I said, that is the last time I will ever do that joke on stage. I will not do that again. Apparently, I have made a terrible mistake. That is not going to be the opening joke anymore. And I moved on, and I learned, and I cut that joke, and I learned how to put other jokes together. But the hard thing about comedy is you learn it, you learn from your mistakes. And I compare comedy as if you learn boxing, if they tied your hands together and somebody just punched you for 20 minutes, and then the whole time you're thinking, boy, if I could lift this arm, if I could just lift this hand, and that's the way you learn it.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Daniel Snyder as someone who has supported Washington football for 20 years. Do you still call them I think they've changed their name, but do you still call them the Washington dog fuckers?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I called them I wish they'd stuck with Washington football team. That at least had a certain kind of commodore, whatever, commanders, commodes. He was a horror show, just a horror show. I mean, come on. Like you could have had a camel run the team, okay? You could have gone to the camel. If the camel didn't take a dump that day, then you make a trade. I mean, what kind of an idiot was he? And then it'd be mean-spirited and all of this and drop the fan base. And then imagine what Jack Kent Cook's kids were like. That they ended up, he wouldn't give the team to his kids. He ended up handing it to an idiot. It's intolerable. And I still don't believe he sold the team. I need it on paper. I need to see that guy from Philadelphia show up. And I need, how do you destroy a fan base? Do you imagine that? We could have run the team.
Look at him. He's enraged again. Louis, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate the time. Tragically, I Need You, free on YouTube now. Good seeing you again, sir.
It's very good to see you. Thank you for your time. And the Wizards, get rid of that name too.
Okay. That was unreasonably mad, but Dan Snyder has soured everybody over there. Do we have the photographs up yet? Do we have the photographs that Izzy was talking about when he was doing incredibly inside jokes about my text string?
Who do you want to see first, Dan? Do you want to see Stugotz celebrating the Big Ten championship? Because we have that. And we also have Greg Cote doing something that our first guest wouldn't approve of.
Okay.
Which one do you want?
Well, Zaslow wants us to make fun of Cote, but he was also wondering why Stugotz isn't here today and why Stugotz just released a grainy video of some sort that makes it look like he's in a hostage situation. And he looks dirty, and he looks like he's been wearing the same clothes. The video's
so grainy.
The same clothes for 7 days. And is he going to try to expense Metal Arc like those two crappy videos he's made in New York?
Yeah, no doubt he will try to expense this entire trip with those grainy videos.
Well, what is that? Is that a video you're showing, or just a picture of him looking
Well, we're
wearing
gonna
the
show
same
you-
clothes he's been wearing for 10 days?
We're going to show you an image real quick on video right now on YouTube of what Stugotz was doing over the last few days, which was apparently not changing at all or showering, celebrating the Big Ten championship with his daughter there. Bad news for everyone in our audience. Stugotz will not be back tomorrow. There is a Dead & Company show that he will be attending tonight.
Zaslow is mortified by Stugotz's behavior.
I just don't understand it. I don't know.
Oh, I'm very familiar with his behavior. Stugotz's behavior is one of somebody who has suffered some loss recently, who has probably made a career move that wasn't necessarily his call. And he's just kind of living right now a little bit of an empty nester, too. And it's just like, hey, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. I did that after I got divorced when I was 40 years old. I went to Vegas for the first time and did some things I probably shouldn't have done. And over the course of about a year and a half.
Wow.
And this is just the life Stugotz is living. And it's a lovely, lovely place to be, frankly.
Jeremy just told me something that I had no idea about, and he got sucked into the Stugotz vortex. And it has something to do with this lacrosse photo.
I did. I really wanted to get involved in the show for a number of years and knew some people around the show. So a number of years ago, when Rachel was first in high school playing lacrosse, really playing well in these showcase tournaments, I was asked to edit together her highlight reels to get her recruited. So I did that a number of different times, had Stugotz sending me links to somebody else's account that he wasn't paying for, that I had to then reach out to that dad who was on the team to be able to get the highlights. Ultimately, of course, was paid by the other folks who I did highlight reels for. Unfortunately, I don't believe that bag ever came in from Stugotz.
Well, congratulations on your Big Ten title. You share in it as much as Stugotz did.
I really genuinely do feel pride in Rachel's success.
What kind? Look, you're smiling, though, Zaz. You
I'm
can't
looking
help
at the
but smile
picture.
at
I'm
him.
looking at him. He's so happy, you know. I wish he was here. I haven't seen him in a really long time, you know.
There's a heater in his left hand, right? There's a heater in his left hand, right? Right behind his daughter?
Definitely ripping that heater. Coming up in the post-game show, we will relive this wonderful photo that I had no idea existed of Greg Cote.
Oh, this is the first time seeing it?
I had never seen that before in my life, and I've seen
They get a
several.
tease? What is it?
Yeah, this is a tease coming up in the post-game. I'm going to show you a photo of
I'm
Greg Cote.
offended by Jonathan Zaslow's inability to recognize a tease on radio.
Despite looking like it.